Hey there, guys. Some of you guys will probably see this later. No worries. As you can tell, the old girl, first off, before we get into this, it's been quite a while since I've been out here working on this thing. It's been sitting here, latest upload. She's pretty high up in the air right now. I'm sure you can tell. But basically, I started work on repairing the rot on the passenger side rear in front of the tire. Back there, there's a big hole. If you guys watch that last video, you'll probably see it. And once I started to bring my air hoses out and knock all that out, we ended up having a bunch of snow come down and the temp dropped. And I lost basically all the functions of all my pneumatic things. I couldn't do anything out here. So I kind of had to pack it in, and that was like November of 2022, right? So I gave up on it for a little while and then took a new job in January. And then February took a second different job, and that involved us moving off site. And we were about an hour and a half, hour 45 north, and we were running that big old hotel. I'm sure you guys saw some of those uploads that I posted. We did, hours and hours and hours. I mean, thousands of hours of work. I'm hired as an executive chef, mind you, but I was out there, welding kitchen tables and rebuilding the kitchen and fixing the HVAC in 31 rooms. All sorts of nonsense that I shouldn't have had to do, but I ended up doing nonetheless. Here we are, back at it after the last upload. The weather's going to get nicer out here. I'm super excited about that. So I'm out here trying to just knock some stuff out. And the last video I posted was basically starting it for the first time since I think January 4th of 2023. It sat, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, and we're in February. I finally came out, put the wheel back on it, left that open body hole there, and kind of drove it around and just wanted to see if anything was having some serious trouble. Or this engine, it has tons of miles on it. It's got 237 or 38,000 miles on it. It's all stock bottom end, stock cylinder head. The only thing I did was replace the valve seals on it. If you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you probably saw that. But we've done a ton of things on this thing. We've put an intercooler on it, big front mount, blow off valve, fuel system, ECM link, timing job, like 3 different valve covers, lots of paint work, body work, speed density swap, fuel pressure regulator, tuned bigger injectors in, just lots of stuff. And all of that has kind of led us to this point here where I came home finally and decided to throw the wheel back on it and drive it around and kill the battery. But now we're out here working on some stuff. This is all getting recorded. I have a couple of new GoPro mounts and a couple of harnesses and all that fun stuff, so I'm getting better angles on some of these things. But this thing needed a ton of work when I left off with it. We got the side skirts pulled off. We took them downstairs. You guys probably watched the video where we cleaned up the one side skirt for the driver's side, pulled off the passenger side. The passenger side had like a good 3.5-inch chunk missing out of it, and I fixed that with fiberglass, got it looking basically stock again, nice and clean, fresh paint. And I mean, the funny part about it is when you go up here on the hood, you can see the tone of the hood versus like the fender. It's completely different. Not as bad as it was the first time I did it, but I sprayed this hood downstairs, and it's just fresh paint on old sun faded paint. The cowl needs work, the wiper arms need work. This stuff right here is peeling off all over the place. We're gonna wrap this car eventually, but the metal work is all done with the rear subframe, the driver's side rear, in front of the tire, the back tire there. We fixed all that. We fixed the side skirt on the passenger side where it was missing a big chunk of plastic. Everything's freshly painted. It's nice and smooth. Now, what we're doing is ripping apart the whole front end because there's a lot of stuff that needs to get fixed out here. So those of you guys who haven't watched lately, I started messing around with a TIG welder about 1.5 years ago, I want to say, and I figured out aluminum pretty quick. Aluminum is pretty straightforward once you get an AC, and stainless is pretty difficult. Mild steel is simple, but the stainless and the aluminum were my main focuses. So I came out here, I thought of all the stuff I wanted to make, all the stuff I wanted to try to build. I mean, we made our own version 2 oil catch can back there that works flawlessly. I drain it, you know, every couple hundred miles when I drive it, but it's been a while. So we have our coolant reservoir back there, and in the process of going through everything, I found that there was a lot of rust that I just didn't like the looks of, a lot of things that needed to get replaced that I didn't have time to, working a full-time job. So what I figured is I'm in the off season right now for my job. So what I'm going to do is go through this whole thing in the front end and just figure out all this stuff that I'm not happy with. I don't want the crash bar to be here. This thing, I notched it out. I put this, I think it's a VRSF type front mount intercooler, and I don't like the fact that it runs over, you know, the hot side comes in and then sends the cold side out in the same direction. Sorry guys, this is the ABS plastic that I made with some rubber gasket on the back side of it to try to channel the airflow through the front here. Wasn't a big fan of that once I threw it together. It didn't really do a whole lot, but I mean, stock design, you see the crash bar right here, goes right across the front, and then there's these huge openings, so air will hit and it vents out the sides before it goes through the stack. So I have a new AC condenser downstairs, this bad boy right here. My Megan Racing radiator is in good shape still, and my intercooler is kind of rough, but I have some extra aluminum downstairs, some sheets, and some extra pieces of intercooler piping. What I want to do is cut that end off right here, slop it off, and put a piece on it so it's basically making it the same as this side, but I'm going to change the angle of that too. I'm going to make it shoot back and have the same thing on this side. So it'll come off the turbo, go around this way, hit the intercooler, come out, cool, and go up to the throttle body. Also, some of the stuff that I have here for the throttle body area for the intercooler, it's all mild steel. Like, I have a lot of aluminum right here, but this bottom piece down below where the blow-off valve is, that's mild steel. I don't want that. I don't want to have heavy steel for the intercooler system anymore. And if I can weld aluminum, I might as well, you know, fix my end tanks and redirect them. And yeah, that's one of the things. So we've got the headlights out, we've got the coolant drained, we've got a lot of stuff pulled off. The upper and lower intercooler piping's all ripped out. I'm gonna pull the intercooler out, we're getting rid of the crash bar, and what we're gonna do is come out here and start mocking up. I have a whole pile of steel. Actually, I'll show you that real fast. I got a really good deal on a pile of steel. It's a decent thickness, it's pretty strong. It's all right here. So I have all this steel sitting right here. I think it's 1 3/4 inch and then 3/4 inch on some of the smaller stuff. There's a couple of smaller pieces and then bigger pieces. I got all that for 150 bucks. It's 063, I want to say, wall. But that's what I'm going to use. And I'm planning on getting rid of the rest of the rust in the front end here. So the crash bar is going to come out. We're going to pull this out, rip it off. We're going to take this out, throw this out. The hood latch, I mean, you guys see how corroded some of this stuff is. It's not worth saving. It's attached to the upper core support. I'm going to keep the radiator, obviously. I got my little homemade heat shield for the turbo to not murder my spowl fans, because I went through a couple of those. And now I can actually take the turbo compressor housing and put an elbow on it and direct it this way instead of a rubber coupler or silicone coupler. Lots of stuff that I've planned. So what I want to do is use the upper core support while it's here, and I'm going to make a copycat out of the smaller diameter tube with the tubular stuff that I have. I'm going to make a tubular front end. I'm going to make an upper and a lower, and I have some chromoly down there too that I'm going to use. So I'm basically going to cut a box out of this, like straight across back here and over, whoop, and leave this side on. On both sides, there's going to be, you know, the side for the fender, but the bottom is going to get cut out. That's because if you look down there, you can see that rust. It's surface rust. Some of it's, you know, semi-deep. Some of the bolt heads look like crap. We have our ABS system right here. We're going to get rid of that. That's another big thing we're going to do here. We're going to pull the ABS pump out. We're going to get rid of the lines that run, you know, these are the ABS lines that run up the top, cruise across here and get back here to our proportioning valve. I already have an ABS delete kit. I've had it for about 2 years now, so I figure what the heck. The rear brake lines look great. I lost 2 sensors, so the ABS light's been on this whole time, so that thing needs to go. These ugly lines need to go. We're going to swap our proportioning valve and then change our front lines. All this stuff's going to get highlighted in their own separate videos. But yeah, right now, my big thing is just pulling everything apart. So we're gonna get the front end all ripped down to just the front upper and lower core supports. We're gonna, evacuate the AC. I already got the coolant out of this thing. We're gonna pull the intercooler off the front, get rid of the crash bar. We might fab something up just, as a safety, just in case we want to have something there in case we hit something, but I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. The radiator, we're going to pull that out. We're going to pull the thermostat housing, the throttle body elbow. I have an S90 downstairs, and we're also working on making our own sheet metal intake manifold out of mild and stainless steel, so that's going to be fun. I want to take the throttle body, the elbow, the intake manifold off. I want to take the fuel rail off. I want to take the motor mount here, the motor mount there. I want to pull off everything from the front end here. I want to take out the power steering reservoir. I want to take off the thermostat housing. All this stuff's going to come off, and everything that I painted, basically, we're going to sandblast all of it, and we're going to go back over it with a couple of different colors that I have sitting downstairs. I powder coated for a few folks, and I figure might as well use the leftovers. I have a really nice color that I want to use for I have a second valve cover that's good downstairs. I'm going to do a new valve cover. I'm going to do a new spark plug cover, motor mounts, all the stuff I just named off, basically. And we'll have a sheet metal intake manifold with an S90 throttle body that we're going to build. You guys will see that video later. And I built one out of stainless and mild steel so far. Not sure if I love it, so I might just go buy some more aluminum and make it out of aluminum, seeing as that's what most people do anyway. It's going to be about 2.5 liters. It's going to have 6-inch runners, and it's just going to bolt up in the back there and fit an S90 in the front. So we're also going to have to get a flange to mate up to the front of the S90, and then make some intercooler piping to fit that. Also, this was one of the first things I made down here when I got this compressor housing and I had my welder. I slapped together this really crappy bracket to hold my wastegate so I could keep it internal. And that thing's about done. So a lot of the stuff that I'm not too happy with, we're finally going to fix. And along all of this, like a party to all of this, we're going to fix the front end here. So, I mean, if you guys look down low, there's a lot of rust. I mean, the backside of this core support, it's pretty cooked all the way down. We're going to fix that. We're going to get a transmission cooler, a power steering cooler, an oil cooler, and try to basically mock it up like the guys at NDD do. If you go to NDD.com, they have a whole kit you can buy for like $600 or $800. I can't remember. NDD 2G DSM tubular front end. I'm not going to spend that money. We're going to keep our power steering reservoir, and we're going to keep part of our air conditioning right down here, but we're going to modify some of it. We're going to move it, and this is probably going to take the better part of a month to knock out. I mean, once I get all this pulled off, we got to clean everything. We got to take our measurements. We got to build our upper. We got to build our lower. We got to get our chromoly out here, box off the frame on both sides. And then once that's all said and done, we're still going to have to make brackets for the power steering reservoir. We're going to have to remount that part of the AC over there. We're going to have to, develop a crash bar, some way to hold the intercooler, the AC system, and to change the pitch of the radiator. That's another thing I want to do. I'm not a big fan, no pun intended. The fan is pressed right up against that heat shield that I made, and it's got some heat blocking stuff on the back of it and a heat shield here, and when it's pulled forward, there's 1/4 inch of space there. I'm not a big fan of that. I want to have a clean wastegate. I want to have a clean solution here for the fans, and I'm thinking once I get this tubular front end made, I might be able to drop this radiator down like that VW Sirocco radiator that you can buy, and drop it down about 3/4 of an inch and tilt it just a touch, so that way I can have the radiator kind of drop backwards down below this heat shield, give myself a little bit more space, and then we'll be in a better situation. We're also going to move the fuse box. We're going to try to take this thing from sitting like this, turn it sideways, smack it onto the strut tower someplace. And the chromoly that I have some small pieces, but I have to get a couple of bigger pieces. Once I get those, I think I'm going to try to make like a upper strut tower brace out of some of it. I already have some 3D printed plates that bolt up to the strut towers on both sides. So once we get these ABS lines out of the way, if I get a section that's 3.5 feet long, I can just cut those pieces out, weld a bar between the two of them, bolt it on, and we might be able to pull off the fenders here and do something similar to the Volk style chassis stiffener pieces. That little triangle that bolts up just helps against body roll. But all this is in preparation for later this year. When we get at it, we're going to go ahead and start throwing some internals into this engine. I've got some Eagle H-beam rods downstairs and some Wiseco 85.5 millimeter pistons. We're going to pull this engine out, transmission out. We're going to, paint the block after it's machined, all that fun stuff. Get the cylinders figured out, get all the line honing done. All the machine work, basically. But until that point, I'd rather start doing some of this stuff now because it's going to take quite a long time to fab up an upper and lower core support and get everything mounted the way I want it to be. I'm just happy that I got a TIG welder, and I've been practicing for the last, 20 months with it. That stuff, stainless is the hardest thing that I found to TIG. I've done tons of mild steel. I'm not a great welder, but good enough to make it happen. The aluminum stuff is a lot easier than stainless, and right now, I'm just excited because I'm going to cut all this rusty crap out of here. Now that the rear end has no more rust in it, and I have one more panel to put in. The side skirts are fixed. I mean, the subframe is new. The diff's covered. I've got some polyurethane coating on the underside of the whole back half of the car. I've got a decent exhaust system set up for it. It's all 3-inch straight through with a high flow cap. Not much that I want to do else other than that. So I've chased out the demons with the radiator fans up here. I rewired all this stuff. I went through and chased down my little short that I had. So wild to complain about, but like I told you guys, I want to make this thing pretty. I want to make it a lot better than it was and fix a lot of stuff. And the last thing that I'm on the fence about this. I'm not sure if I want to tackle it, but I have a second transmission downstairs, which was the original 5-speed transmission to this car. I bought another one. Sorry about that. I lost you guys again. Don't know if you guys know about this, but I have a transmission downstairs that was original to the car. I bought one that had different gears put in it. It has a Evo 3 first gear, I believe. And basically, the guy I bought it from was launching it and cracked the bell housing. So they had it TIG welded back together, and it's ugly, but it works. It hasn't given me any trouble. But I have another transmission downstairs, the stock one. I have a bunch of donor parts that I might tear apart the stock transmission, try to replace the synchros in it. I have a synchro kit, and it's basically just going to put it back to stock. Not sure if I want to do that yet, but that's the dead last thing that I want to deal with. I'm more confident in my ability to rebuild the motor than I am to tear apart that transmission with all the springs and the little ball bearings that you have to pull out of certain spots on it. I've watched all the videos. I have the service manual. I've read it back and forth, but not sure I want to go that far with it yet. Transmissions have always been my Achilles heel. I don't want to mess with those. Out here tonight, though, well, this evening, sun's about to set. We're still down here working on some stuff. I want to get this radiator pulled out. I want to get my throttle body elbow pulled off and my throttle body pulled off. I want to get the thermostat housing out, the radiator out, the intercooler out, the crash bar out, this intake system that I built custom out of exhaust pipe, so it comes out right here in the factory hole through the passenger fender and then feeds down to the turbo. I want to get that pulled out. Once all that stuff's pulled out, I think I'll be pretty happy for the most part. And I'm just going to take everything downstairs, start sandblasting parts and powder coating parts, and you guys will have to stay tuned to the video to, see what the end result is. But nonetheless, motor mounts, all these other goodies, the fuel rail, once they're all sandblasted and degreased and clean and powder coated, it's going to look really nice. So I'm super excited about that. Hopefully you guys are too. I know it took a while from YouTube. It took a long break. A lot of stuff, working with a welder and this and that. But now I'm finally back in here. I got that little fire lit under my butt. And I just want to make this thing look as good as it makes me feel when I drive it. Because, being a stock bottom end with 256, 8,000 miles on it, It rips at 26 pounds, and it doesn't blow smoke. It doesn't, do anything crazy. It drives really, really well. I was super surprised. I have a shimmy, and I figured out the shimmy. I'll post a video on that. I had a little wobble when I was driving down the road in the last video. I figured out what that was. Super simple fix, but I don't know. I'm just happy to see this 98 in the condition that it's in. I've used just a ton of secondhand parts, donor parts, stuff off Marketplace that was used. I found things that people were selling on the DSM Classifieds page. I got my ECU off there from a failed build. Just a ton of stuff. A lot of the stuff you guys have watched me build or try to fabricate and fail. And then I've come back through with a second version, made it better, made it not so crappy. I'm just having fun with this, learning how to make things, learning how to make mounts. I made the mount for the coolant reservoir. I built that friggin' crappy little, oil catch can. That thing is an old trailer hitch, guys. It's a trailer hitch. I cut the trailer hitch off and I boxed it in. I put a little air filter in there and a ball valve at the bottom and a little sight valve or a sight window right here. So you can watch this tube fill up. Once it gets full, you drain it out. This is all secondhand stuff that I've thrown together by myself in my driveway at, one of 3 different places that we've lived at over the last few years. I'm just having fun with it. So in the spirit of doing it yourself and doing it in your driveway or garage or learning a new trade or having some fun with some stuff, follow along if you want. If you see me make a mistake, comment in the comments below the videos and teach me a different way of doing it that'll make it better. So no crapping on people's comments here. No telling people they're wrong. We're not, going back to 2012 DSM tuners where everybody's, ripping everybody apart. It's not what I'm about. I see a lot of negative stuff. It doesn't matter. I'm here for the guys, and you know who you are. All you guys that have reached out and asked me random questions about some of the stuff that I've done or some questions about an issue you're having and look for suggestions. That's all I'm here for, is to try to help. I'm no pro, but I'm trying to, make myself a little bit better at the fabrication stuff while learning how to make my car run better and share it with some of you. So hopefully it inspires you guys to go out there and have some fun. I'm really looking forward to deleting the ABS system in this thing because I lost a wheel speed sensor forever ago and the ABS light's been on forever. I'd rather just pull the sensors out, get rid of the little, what are they called? Reluctor wheels or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. What's on the CV axle? Pull them off. Get rid of the proportioning valve, get rid of these old lines that are going to the front wheels. And funny enough, the brake lines going to the back wheels are in better shape than the ones going to the front wheels. We're in upstate New York, guys. Don't forget. We got a lot of salt on our roads. But anyways, I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to let you guys all get back to what you're doing. You're probably having dinner wherever you're at or getting ready to head out of work or on your drive home. Just wanted to share this stuff with you guys and let you know that we're going to get back into this thing full swing. We're going to start really ripping into this car. I've got a lot of free time over the next couple of weeks, so I'm going to spend every day that's decent out here working on this and, making content to share with you guys. And if you have any constructive criticism, suggestions, or, a company that sells a part that I'm using that you could have found a better deal at, share it with me. If you guys watch the old videos, you see when somebody jumps in and says, hey, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done that, and this is why. I always pin those comments. I always try to share those with the rest of you, the community out here, and just make sure everybody knows what's going on. So anyways, thanks for watching this. It's going to be a fun one. I'm going to get back to pulling all these parts out. I got fans, intercooler, radiator, lots of stuff to do. But anyways, stay tuned to the channel. Appreciate you guys' support. And we're not going to go back to that hotel anytime soon. So there's going to be a lot of stuff changing on this car. And hopefully we can have some fun with it and share it with all of you. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you again really, really soon this time. It's not going to be a year. It's going to be, a few days, maybe a week at most. But we'll definitely see you again. Take care.